all
point.
the stuff that's going on with the murder mystery. I think they also tried to give us a bit of insight into who this Haridas character actually was and some of his personal characteristics. Really, because the first half we don't learn much about him, but we do get snippets. Like I don't think he's having an affair or something like that with that private detective or the private detective. And I was like, that threw me off a bit. I was like, okay,
I think
just
that's
echoing
right. Yes, it was
blood.
very. Yeah, that is a good point. Like maybe he's got a little bit of that Haji in him where he is a little bit immoral, or in the case of women, has these stints with him. But yeah, that was very unexplained. Like I don't know if they're actually having an affair or they were just kind of in that kind of relationship where they slept on the same bed sort of thing. But I wasn't sure. But yeah, it was. He's not this great moral bastion, like this guy who's perfect in what he does and is trying to be like, I'm superior to these people. In fact, his motivations are basically just to understand what happened. Correct. I'm not even sure if he's like trying to take people to the police and get them caught for these crimes. No. It's almost like he just wants to solve it for his own curiosity, and he's kind of haunted by these stories. So even his motivation is a little bit, I would love to delve into that.
No, definitely. I think his moral compass is not what we would expect from this kind of investigation, which is also a credit to the movie, that they don't use the kind of trope of being like, I'm a justice warrior or something like that, or I have to fight for what's right. It's more like he's just trying to uncover, basically understand what happened to the story in the past so he can be done with it once and for all. But that's really all. He doesn't show that he's sympathetic to the people of Paleri or that he really cares for the people or things like that. He has kind of a friendship with Sreenivasan's character, kind of.
Yes.
That develops. But yeah, it's really different. He's not really shown as like a saint or something like that. He's really he's not as bad as his father, but it's definitely, he's not a perfect person, which I just thought was a creative choice. Like I thought, you're doing something that's different. And I appreciated that. But like you, I think the exposition part really, it took me a while to really get into this movie because of that. Because you have so much exposition dumps where it's like, oh my God, like I have to take a break because it's, again, that documentary style, like it's piling on information where you're just like, there's not really a break either. Like it's like, we'll have the first scene and we're trying to understand what's happening in the village, and then we'll have Mammoottys' character step in between and tell us more information about what's happened.
Yes.
There's a lot in the first half. But,
so much to digest.
Yeah, I'm not too surprised, but it is a kind of movie that is like the Oscar kind of winning movie, I would say.
Yes.
Right? Like it won the State Award and stuff like that.
Yes.
So yeah, including Best Film Award. So it seems like it is the kind of movie that will have an impact. But it might. I don't know. Was this a commercial success? We'd love to know, guys, in the comment section. Was this a commercial success? Because if it was, I'd be surprised, because it's just the style of it is something that's not flashy at all. It's so committed to story and dialogue rather than action or cinematic brilliance. Or the visuals are beautiful, but they don't like go out of the way to show us a massive panorama or something like that. It's just contained within the story. So
and another reason I wonder if it was commercially successful was just the graphic nature of some of the scenes we were watching. Like I wonder if that is something that would have shocked Malayalam, like the audiences in Kerala, as much as it's kind of shocked me even right now. Like I wonder how that would have gone down, because there was extended scenes that were genuinely hard to watch, I think, in this film because of the graphic nature of the violence, particularly against women. So
definitely, man,
it's tough.
Definitely, but we'll get on to the main man and sort of
man himself.
Man, yep, we're going to see him in a different light. Yeah.
This is love the growl on his face there. Oh my gosh.
This is just so brutal to do to somebody. I can't imagine this as a torture technique. Like,
it just shows you that like there's a cruelty to him beyond just I need to punish this guy. Yeah. I'm going to do it in the most heinous way.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And get pleasure from doing it.
They're not holding back at all. Like, it's such a graphic movie.
And the fact that it was his brother hitting him.
Yeah, my God.
That's another level.
See that slow motion style again.
That's right. And just the fact he's enjoying this, like that is a level of cruelty that, oh man.
Just like a dictator or something like that. Like,
he really is. Like he's just ruling over these people.
And this scene goes on for a while. Like
it does. It does.
Delivery as well, man. It's the voice.
Such contempt and hatred.
Now this.
Just how he's standing in the doorway like that.
Oh, this is like, oh, I could not believe this.
This goes on, man.
Oh, just, I want him to stop. You know?
Yeah, this is just relentless.
Evil Mammootty. Evil Mammootty.
That is,
and like, I think there's a few more scenes like that, but I was like, that probably illustrates a point we want to talk about.
Just more than enough, yeah. Jeez, man.
Yeah, man. That was bloody intense, man. That was something else. Like, there's so much that Mammootty has just transformed himself into in this movie. Like, my God. The level of torture.
That's right. I'd never thought I'd see Mammootty playing such a like purely villainous character like that. But man, he's got a skill for it. Like, just he's got this imposing figure, and maybe it's partly the camera work that can give him that stature. Like the way he stands in that doorway, he looks so imposing and stops the husband from crossing the threshold to his own home. And then just the growling in his voice, and then just the like actions as he does. He just like waves his like the cloth and puts it back over his shoulders like this is nothing. Like he just does this, and immediately after that he just tells the wife, you know, just say he had an accident or he got poisoned with food or something. Like this is a man who is the absolute ruler of this village and rules with an iron fist, and he can do whatever he wants to whoever he wants. And wow, man, like that is a despicable character from start to end, basically.
No, it's tough to watch, but yeah, I think it is. Mammootty's always has that physical presence whenever he's doing these kind of movies. I think he's just able to sort of, you know, one sort of kick and he's sort of down, and he's able to use that stature of his. I mean, I don't know. Is he smoking a cigar throughout the entire time? Like that's not a cigarette.
He is, yes.
I think it's just power. It's just a status. Like it's a status for him, because a cigar, I can imagine back in the 50s, it's not something that would be that common, I would imagine. Like that must have been either imported or specially made for him or something like that. Like we see cigarettes being smoked all the time, but cigars is like a whole other level. And that look of his, I think, must be pretty iconic. Like I think we must have seen it in that mashup of ours that we saw a while ago with the cigar and the headdress and all that. Man. Like it's something else. Like it is, And again, as you said.
Yes.
The growling.
The growling. He just like the first time we see his face is like when the intermission sign comes up and he's done nothing. He just walks across the screen and he already looks like this is a bad guy. He's about to, and he says nothing. He just walks across the screen and that's it. And you're all immediately like, that presence is, this guy's not a good man. And the fear he instills in people is just like instant, and everyone holds him in such high, like, regard. I don't know if it's high regard or just fear. Yeah, that's right. But like one of the really interesting things is that while he basically just can be with any woman he wants in the village, like the Churu character, is kind of drawn to him as well, right? Like he's charismatic, he's strong, he's powerful, which is like a very interesting dynamic because she knows he's a bad man, and yet is drawn to him as well. And I thought that's a level of complexity and nuance that is like surprising to put in a film like this, because I'm sure, you know, people are drawn to him, men and women, because of his power, and they know that he's not a good man, but he's charismatic. He's got that presence, immediate kind of leadership kind of vibe to him, which I think is just an interesting commentary on the fact that these bad people, they are surrounded by people who kind of adore them or are somehow drawn to them, even though they know that they're not good people.
Yeah, there is something with that. Like I was also surprised that she just sort of went with him, like after being invited, like firstly reluctantly, but there's kind of this allure here, I guess he also has, which I think again is probably, you know, might be a common thing from back then with rulers and things like that. Like I think she did come from, like she was married to, like she was like a coconut, like he used to get coconut off the trees or something like that. Like it wasn't the person she was married to was not a man of stature and power, like, you know. So obviously, you know, and she had that desire to be with him. But yeah, I think she realized after what happened, you know, who she's actually in bed with, I guess. But yeah, that again, she had a very complex character, I felt, which I didn't expect. Like, and I actually appreciate it. But again, if this is all based on true stories, then wow, that's you know, that's even more crazy. Yeah, that she sort of became the village prostitute, I guess, in the end. Like that's what her role became after that. So I guess it didn't work out for the best, I guess, in a way. But yeah, again, like I think there's some stuff that I know this probably doesn't come across as much to us, but Mammooty is speaking in some kind of accent. Again, like I'm noticing whenever I'm listening to a lot of movies, I'm trying to pick up how they're sort of speaking and trying to pick up on, because we can't understand, but it sounds like, from what I read, this is in a place called Kozhikode, which is like a coastal town, I think, in northern Kerala. So the dialect is a bit different. He's, again, that's a level of detail which probably for us doesn't make an impact, but he's obviously gone on and spoken in an accent for this particular role to be real and take you to a place of how they used to speak like that. So I just appreciate that level of,
I love that, man. Like that level, authenticity is he goes above and beyond what he needs to for these characters, and I that's why he's as great as he is.
Exactly right. So yeah, Mammootty's role in this is one that, of all the roles I've seen him in terms of just ferocity and, like, you know, intimidation, this is probably the highest, just because of how evil he is.
So. Yes.
You know, like I think the only one that even comes close is probably in Rorschach. But
yeah, I was thinking about
kind
that.
Of more manic in that. Like he was more like unhinged. In this one, he doesn't feel like he's unhinged. That's the problem. Like it's just like when he's kicking that guy to death, it's not like he's out of control. He's in control. Which makes it even worse.
Exactly. It is a man who knows he can do whatever he wants and there is no limits for him. And that is why he's a bit threatened when the Communist Party comes into power, which is a dynamic I don't entirely understand. But he really hates that idea. He says it's his communism that rules Paleri or something to that effect. So this is a person who's used to having total power in this town. And this is what that leads to, I guess.
Yeah, guys, would love to know in the comment section more about the whole communist, because we have had discussions in our comment section about Kerala and its link to communism, because a lot of movies do have that sort of theme, like throughout the movies. But this one in particular felt like communism was like a threat to him particularly, like as you sort of mentioned, because he prefers the dictatorship kind of style where he's the sort of the commander and chief in the town. I don't know what made him the commander in chief. I don't really understand. They didn't really give us that side of the story, like what gave him the power. Was it ancestral? Like, was his father like this, like the owner of the land or something like that? And was it like a kingdom kind of thing? I'm not really sure how this came into place.
I assume it was something to do with the wealth. Like he had a big farm that he could employ people, and so that money gave him a degree of status. But there might be other things as well. Was that inherited, or was it?
I think there was talks about lower castes and stuff like that as well, who he's surrounded by. So maybe he just got a lot of people from lower castes and just abused them or something like that. I'd love to know, guys. This is a topic I'd love to know more about.
In one of the like less violent shows of his power is when he tells the Sreenivasan character, the barber, you're going to come back and be a barber for me. He's like, no, I don't want to be a barber. He's like, no, your father was my barber. You're going to be the barber now. And he's like, has no choice but to be the barber again, which I think just shows you that he is in total control of the people's lives in this village.
But yeah, speaking of Sreenivasan's younger character and Sreenivasan, I think we have a scene here with him.
പാർട്ടി വളർത്താൻ സഹായിക്കുന്ന ധനികന്മാരെ സംരക്ഷിക്കുക. അവർ എന്ത് പാതകം ചെയ്താലും അവർക്കൊപ്പം നിൽക്കുക. അതിന് താത്വികമായ പിൻബലവുമുണ്ട്. ശത്രുവിന്റെ ധനം ഉപയോഗിച്ച് തന്നെ അവനെതിരെ വളരുക.
കേശവേട്ടൻ മാണിക്യത്തെ നേരിൽ കണ്ടിട്ടുണ്ടോ?
ഇല്ല, ജീവനോടെ കണ്ടിട്ടില്ല. ആ പാവൻ ചത്തു. അതിന് കാരണക്കാരായ ആർക്കും നല്ല ഓരോരുത്തരും അനുഭവിച്ചു തന്നെയാണ് ചത്തത്. ഹാജി പെരുവിരൽ മുതൽ അരവരെ പുഴുത്തു കിടന്നു കുറെ കാലം. പലരുടെയും നെഞ്ചുവരെ ഉയർന്ന കാലുകളിൽ പുഴുക്കൾ നീന്തുകയായിരുന്നു. ഇവിടെ ചെയ്തു കൂട്ടിയതിനെല്ലാറ്റിനുള്ള ശിക്ഷ ഇവിടെ തന്നെ കിട്ടുമെന്ന് പറയുന്നതാണ് ശരി.
ഇതൊരു കമ്മ്യൂണിസ്റ്റുകാരന്റെ വാക്ക്.
Some of this stuff honestly goes over my head.
Yes.
ഞാൻ കമ്മ്യൂണിസ്റ്റുമല്ല, വിശ്വാസിയാണ്.
Damn man, bars.
വെറുമൊരു ക്ഷുരകനാണ് ഞാൻ.
This is amazing.
Beautiful shot.
Just walking into the sunset quite literally, and he dies not long after that. No,
yeah. I want to include that scene because, again, in the myriad of characters here, this was one of the standout performances, and I think
it's a good point.
This little contained scene I thought was probably the standout for him. Now I don't know if like that whole thing is to do with identity or something like that. Like was people being forced to be communists or something like that, and he was sort of against that with that sort of last line. But yeah, again, it just harps on that point. I don't really understand what exactly he was really talking about in this scene here, but it was definitely delivered with, perfect delivery.
A lot of gravitas.
The way it was shot.
100%. He just has this feel of a man who's like seen too much, and he's like carrying a weight on him, and you just feel like it's a weight coming off his shoulders, and he's just learnt a lot from what he's lived through, and it's been a painful life for him. Even he talks about Haji, who had this complete power over this town. Even he died a painful death by the sounds of it. And it just seems like there's misery for everyone who is involved in this whole story from the village of Paleri, because no one is left better off by what has happened. No one gets any sense of justice here at all, and it just seems like such a sad life that they've all had to deal with hardships from whether it's Haji or these deaths. He just does a great job of looking like a man who's just tired and seen too much.
Disheveled, and like there's just nothing left in his, like it looks like he's just completely just broken at this point. But it's a great commentary on sort of the impact of sort of what happened during that time in Paleri under the rule of Haji, and how it's impacted his whole life and generations of people, it seems like. So because there's a few other people that are like that in this who are sort of worn down. There's another guy somewhere, he says something like about he's not sharing his secrets and he'll die with the burdens of knowing the truth or something like that. I can't remember, one of the characters mentioned something like that. So
I remember that. It's the events of those times are still lingering in the minds of the people who are there. Old grudges, old loyalties, old suffering and trauma. They're all still with these people because they're unresolved and they're so impacted their lives growing up. It's the trauma stays with you, and I just think that is beautiful and tragic, the way that they've depicted that. There's no closure for these people. They've kind of gone from one hardship to another.
Definitely not, man. I think we've got maybe the last one here. Mammootty number 3.
Yes.
ചേരുവിന്റെ വീടിന്റെ മുന്നിലുള്ള കശുമാവിൽ കെട്ടിത്തൂക്കി ആ മൃതദേഹം.
They keep showing this, man.
Oh my God, this is no more.
അപസ്മാരബാധയുടെ കഥയുണ്ടാക്കാൻ ചീരുവിനെ ഏൽപ്പിച്ച് തൊടിയിലെ മണ്ണിലേക്ക് എറിഞ്ഞു അവളെ. സൽപുത്രനെ രക്ഷിക്കാൻ ഹാജി ആവുന്നതെല്ലാം ചെയ്തു. രക്ഷിച്ചു മകനെ. മകൻ നേരെ അലിഗഡിലേക്ക്. ഫരീദ് ബിൻ അത്തറിന്റെ കാവ്യങ്ങൾ നുണഞ്ഞ് ഖാലിദിലെ കവി മനസ്സ് ഉണർന്നു. ഖാലിദ് ഇന്ന് മഹാപണ്ഡിതൻ, ആതിഥേയപ്രിയൻ, ഗസലും മദ്യവും ഒഴുക്കി അതിഥികളെ തണുപ്പിക്കുന്നു.
Such an interesting character.
The son.
ഒരു നീച ജന്മം പോലെ ചുവരിലെ
I feel like we should have had more time with the son.
നിഗമനങ്ങളാണ് ഖാലിദ് സാഹിബ്, നിഗമനങ്ങൾ. ഒരു നാടൻ നായുടെ ഘ്രാണശക്തി മാത്രമുള്ള ഒരു പാവം കുറ്റാന്വേഷകന്റെ നിഗമനങ്ങൾ. ഹരിദാസ്, Yes, big brother. Fix me a drink.
Mammooty has to get a lot of credit for his delivery in this movie. Like, it's so varied. And he does it so well.
And he says hardly anything as this other son, and yet there's so much impact in that voice.
What a makeover as well.
It took me a moment to figure out
Me
it was
too.
him. I actually wasn't sure who the gun was intended for at this point.
Me too. I didn't think what would happen would happen.
Yes.
Go and have your dinner downstairs. ഒന്നും പറയാനില്ലേ ഖാലിദ് ഭായ് നിങ്ങൾക്ക്? Do what I said. Bye. Have a great night.
I kind of like that he didn't have some big monologue or anything.
No.
The other brother, he was just...
What's been said has been said, I guess.
Yes, and he's been dealing with... He knows the truth. There's nothing more to say,
Story at all, but we all know what happens after that, and sort of the silence, not the silence, the ruckus it creates. But it's interesting on this Khalid character. Like, I do appreciate Mammootty just having a third role. Part of me wonders, did he have to do this particular role? Like, it could have just gone to somebody else with the similar kind of likeness. I think this might have been like a flex.
Yes.
Or something like that.
The only saving grace is that he plays characters all from the same family. It's not like a random third party, this is his half brother he's playing. But yes, I mean, he's kind of introduced at the end, and I think no one would have blinked twice. It was played by someone else. But I guess the fact that it was played by Mammootty just adds a level of appeal to the audience, maybe. Or as a draw card.
That's definitely true. To see him, I mean, I was in the same boat, man. I didn't actually recognize it was him until he started talking, and the voice was very similar. And I was like, "Oh my god, that's Mammootty again!" Because they kind of reveal him like really slowly. Like he's like hiding, and then they slowly reveal his face, and it's like this like eccentric character. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of weird, but I think this character fascinates me.
I was just about to say, I feel exactly the same way, because he is a guy who's living in his father's house. His father, who is a criminal, was brutal, was feared by everyone, and he's changed it into this place of culture and music where people are free to come in and have like dinner. He's like trying to whitewash that part of his father's history or something and show that he's a cultured man, even though he's done a terrible thing in the past, and his father, to cover that up, has done an even more terrible thing. He's trying to whitewash that history as this guy who went to a good university and kind of just create a new narrative for his family. And he's finally met someone. Yes, that's right. And as soon as that veil is shattered by the Haridas character, he immediately resorts to kind of killing himself, because
final stage.
That's right, because he knows that this is all just a facade and that he can't ever really escape what happened, no matter how he tries to dress it up.
Correct. No, I did sort of the death was definitely sudden, but before the scene, I actually liked how the whole thing got unraveled as well. That's a whole scene we didn't react to, but the whole sort of climax scene, and I thought that was probably one of the best parts of the movie as well, like how they sort of show us like what exactly happened and the story, how that's uncovered. I really liked how they sort of showed that, and how they they killed again the poor daughter. Like, oh my god, like that's just terrible. Like, again, and she did I was really glad that they gave her a role where she wasn't just a dead body. Like, she could actually play out. She actually had a character as well, so respect for that as well. But it was just brutal how I think Haji sends in like his goon or whoever he is to go hold her mouth and kill her essentially. Again, Mammootty had another scary performance when he walks in the room with her, and she's just like so scared. And again, just another bad scene with the three of them taking turns on her. Basically, that was horrible. Before that as well. So yeah, man, it was just they packed in a lot towards the end. But I'm happy at how it sort of just all came together nicely. I think unlike the first half, which I felt like it took its time to sort of tell a story, this sort of wrapped up nice and cleanly. I felt this was
loose
tightly
ends
done.
kind of basically taken care of. I agree. And I don't know if there's like a broader commentary there on kind of the value of life and, in these villages at this time where, people are valued differently. You can kill a person and no one will bat an eyelid at it, especially women. Like there's a lot of violence that is directed towards women in this film. And obviously that's saying something about maybe the status of women at that time. And it's graphic at times. And that climax scene is hard to watch again because you see it happening over and over again and different forms of violence perpetrated against different people. You're like, because we don't even talk about the priest who dies, right? The one they drown randomly, right? And he's just like an innocent bystander who just happens to be at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, just get caught in the crossfires as well, which was just terrible.
Yes.
It's like basically anyone that's not of any power, basically
their life
will
is
just
meaningless.
get killed like relentlessly. But again, I'm not sure, like, because this is based on a true story, so I don't know if there's a real message about this.
No,
like because it's just facts. It's about
just facts. It's what life was like. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. It's telling us exactly how sort of things were, and again, due to the authenticity and the realism that this movie brings about.
Yes.
I don't know if I'll tell a broader picture, but I think just those themes in general about what life was like back in the 50s and how it probably is still around now. That.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, man, I mean, it was a pretty intense movie, but I guess overall, in terms of like final thoughts, man, what did you sort of think about this to sort of close things off? What were your thoughts about the movie, the direction, Mammootty, everything?
Oh man, I mean, starting with Mammootty, like great performance across the board from everyone. Everyone did a terrific job. And again, if we, what's better than one Mammootty, two Mammootys, probably like three Mammootys. Like, can we go for next time? Like, just he's incredible in this, and his performance as Haji will stay with me because that is so different to what I've seen with him be before. Like, it is going as far as he can in the other direction of the ordinary man. Right, he is now a villainous character, so that performance will stick with me, and this story I think will stick with me. Like, there'll be some parts of it I don't want to remember, but the feeling this leaves you with, the distress you feel watching it, and how authentic it is, it's beautiful in its own way, but a challenging watch, but one I would still recommend to people because this is an incredible story and incredible performances and something you've got to experience, I think.
No, I definitely echo your sentiments, man. It's a really good movie. It's really different in that, the exposition is really heavy. Definitely lacks the sort of flair, but at the same time, it still has its own beauty in sort of how it's presented.
Yes.
Obviously, Mammootty sort of doing what he does was pretty impressive, but also just equally as impressive as, Shweta Menon with her performance and all the other actors and ensemble cast. No one feels like, despite how great Mammootty is, no one feels like they're in the shadow of him. Like, they all step up and they all sort of bring their A game. To this performance. So it's great. There are so many characters in this. There's even the character of, I think his name's Basan. He's like basically the guy who's taking you around and stuff like that. Small performances from all these different characters that are just there. The I guess his lover or whatever it is, or she's there as well, which we don't sort of spend much time on. But again, all small performances, understated, that all do their job really well. So it's a really well put together movie, really unique movie. So yeah, I'm really glad to have watched it and covered it. It's something that I think will, Mammootty's character as evil Mammootty will definitely stay with me. There is another movie which is high on our list called Villainous, I think, and that's the one where we had seen in that mashup where he's like an evil dictator or something like that. I don't know how different it is from this, but
he just went through a dictator phase.
It looks like he went through an evil phase or something like that. But but I'm not sure when that movie was shot. This is from 2009. I don't know if that was done before then, but that movie is meant to be also just incredible. So we'll definitely be covering that one as well. But like always, guys, let us know in the comment section what you thought about this movie. Was this movie, did you enjoy this movie? Was it too graphic in nature? Was it too exposition heavy in nature? Was it not enough substance? We'd love to know how this movie, I would love to know how this movie is aged today, because, I don't see movies like this so much anymore with so much exposition, because it's just not people know that you have to sort of keep things moving, and with media as it is now, it's so fast paced with, things just going in and out really quickly. Maybe people don't have time to sit down and listen to somebody talk for this long. So I don't know. It'd be an interesting insight to have someone that's not seen it see it, and what their thoughts are about it. But for us, I think we both really enjoyed it, and we're really great to have this conversation, man. It was a good one.
It's an absolute pleasure, man. Always love a good Mammooty chat.
Definitely, guys. Well, thanks a lot everyone for supporting the channel. Like always, we really appreciate it. Coming up towards the end of the year now, so it's been a pretty huge year for us, and we couldn't have done it without all your support. Been love doing this, but we'll see you guys on the next one.
Catch you guys on the next one, guys.
Bye.